And we are live. It's Dr. J here in the house. Today's video is going to be on the top 5 ways to naturally improve your hair health. I'm excited to dive into this topic and kind of review some different things you can do to improve hair quality, hair loss, the whole 9 yards. We'll kind of dive into it briefly. Before we do, please smash that like button. Really helps with the search algorithm. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notified of great content coming your way, and then be on these live calls with me and ask questions and dive in. All right, so out of the gate, we look at hair health and or hair loss. We have to make sure certain nutrients and certain hormones dialed in so we can have optimal hair health. So one of the first things are going to be certain minerals. So zinc and selenium are very, very important for good, healthy hair health. Zinc and selenium also provide really good buffers to oxidative stress, especially selenium. It definitely helps with glutathione recycling. So selenium is a really important nutrient and mineral. Zinc also very helpful. You're going to get zinc in a lot of seafood, a lot of healthy animal products. Things like pumpkin seed oil are kind of commonplace to be very helpful with hair health. There's some studies out there looking at pumpkin seed oil on hair health, on hair regrowth. Very important. Next, I would say DHT. DHT does cause hair follicles to miniaturize over time. They start to lose a little bit of the melanin in the hair, so they start to get smaller and more translucent. And then over time, that hair follicle eventually just goes kaput, and you lose the actual hair there, and you start going bald. But usually there's just thinning of the hair first. DHT has that major effect on the thinning of the hair. And so certain nutrients like zinc have a mild DHT blocking effect. Certain things like pumpkin seed oil could help because that's very high in zinc as well. And also things like saw palmetto. There's bunch of different meta-analyses looking at saw palmetto in that 300 to 400 milligram range. You just want to make sure it's 85 to 90% cold extract, so you're not damaging those fatty acids, those beta sterols that block that DHT. Saw palmetto can be excellent, and there's a bunch of meta-analysis out there. You just want to make sure you're taking a high enough dose. You want it at least twice a day, so you have that kind of broad spectrum effect. So saw palmetto is excellent, especially if you're trying to, avoid maybe a finasteride medication or something like that. So we have saw palmetto, we have zinc and selenium. I'd also say NAC. There's a couple of studies. There's one major study out right now in kind of progress on looking at NAC and comparing it to hair loss and hair growth. Is one study I think where it compares it to minoxidil, where it's actually doing really well, the NAC. And part of that is it's going to help with the pseudocatalase enzyme, which is going to help neutralize the hydrogen peroxide around the follicle that strips the melanin from the hair follicle to cause it to go gray. Also, sulfur is a really important building block, helping that hair to also grow as well. So there's some other, mechanisms, whether it's reducing inflammation, oxidative stress, glutathione. That pseudocatalase enzyme is really important for helping to prevent the gray hair. So NAC is a really important one. And again, NAC is going to be that building block to help with glutathione. So that's a big one. So that one big study out there in NAC shows a lot of hope. Outside of that, you can do medications. You can do finasteride. If you're going to do finasteride, the typical dose is 1 milligram. I always say there's a lot of studies on microdosing it, going even at a half or a quarter milligram. Depends on how fast you're losing your hair. I always recommend try to do the natural things first. Unless your hair is really dropping super, super fast, then you may need a pharmaceutical intervention. So you can come in with a microdose of finasteride down to 0.25 milligrams per day, or you can even do something more topical, like a liposomal compounded topical. Anywhere between 0.1 milligrams to 0.25 milligrams a day is a good starting point. And that's excellent out of the gates, especially if it's liposomal. You're going to get 80 to 90% to stay in the actual scalp tissue versus go systemic. Right. The problem with finasteride, it goes systemic. It blocks DHT. When you lower DHT, that can have effects on allopregnenolone, dopamine. DHT can have some estrogen blocking effects as well. That's why you see gynecomastia. But again, that usually that's 1 milligram and up. You're going to see problems with that. So if you wanted to do that, topical is going to be a much better way to do it. Microneedling is going to be excellent. Microneedling is going to do a couple things. It's going to create channels in the scalp where you can get nutrients in there, whether it's copper peptides, whether it's minoxidil, which is a growth factor as well, whether it's finasteride, whether it's other nutrients like hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, vitamin A, right? It's going to provide channeling of these nutrients into the scalp. It's also going to increase stem cell and blood growth to that area. And so that hair follicle is going to be usually couple millimeters beneath the surface, but you can start tapping into that follicle bed, that hair follicle bed, right around 1 to 1.5 millimeters of a microderm pen. It's a better way to do it than the roller because you come in at it directly at a 90-degree angle, where a roller hits at 45, rolls through it, and exits at 45. And sometimes it can pinch and cut hairs, and you're not getting a straight exit wound. And you're just hitting it once. You kind of go back and forth 4 or 5 times, and you change the angle with a pen. It's going to have an 8,000 RPM per minute. So that's 8,000 times up and down in a minute. So if you just come in there and you hold it 1,000, 1,000, you're probably getting hundreds and hundreds of up and down wounds, and you're able to set the length exactly how you want it. And then you can have it be exactly at 90 degrees perpendicular to the scalp. So that's excellent. And then you can do copper peptides or some kind of a nutrient either after or 12 to 24 hours after, especially if there's alcohol or anything that's more caustic, you want to wait at least 12 hours. But microneedling is an excellent way to stimulate stem cells, to stimulate blood flow, and it's a great way to access more nutrients in there. So when you look at things like minoxidil or Rogaine, which is a growth stimulating medication, first one on the market for blood pressure. It's a natural vasodilator, so it increases blood flow, but also has a growth factor. It's one study where they did microneedling and they added in Rogaine within 12 hours or so afterwards. They saw a 400% increase in hair growth compared to just the minoxidil group without the microneedling. So microneedling is very powerful, one, to get nutrients into the scalp, and two, to stimulate the stem cells. And so if you could do anything, I would say, like, as a natural way out of the gate, get some saw palmetto on board, make sure it's high quality, make sure you get some pumpkin seed oil and some good zinc, make sure you do some microneedling. Just one time a week is highly effective, 1 to 1.5 on the scalp. If you want to do your face, you can do that anywhere between 0.5 and 1 on the face. It's a great way if you want to stimulate beard growth or increase your facial hair on the face. 0.5 millimeters to 1 millimeter is a great starting point. I'll put a link down below for the recommended microneedling pen that I specifically use. That's good. I would say after that would be a laser cap, a nice high quality laser cap. The brand that I like is Capillus because it has the highest amount of laser and highest amount of millijoule output. That matters. There's some brands that are out there that are less, and you have to use it a lot longer, 20, 30 minutes out of whack. Capillus is good, and they have different grades. I like the RX one. That's the highest grade. It has, I think, 296 or 312 lasers. It's the highest level of lasers. And it's not just the lasers, it's the amount of joules energy per laser. So that's excellent as well. That's going to stimulate blood flow. It's going to help with inflammation. And again, when you have hair loss or hair growth issues, there's a lot of times more than one mechanism going on at the same time. So if you have androgenic alopecia or male pattern baldness, that's the DHT mechanism. That's one. You can also have just general inflammation because your diet's poor. You have excess omega-6 fats. You're not getting enough good proteins. And so I'm always looking at, okay, are we getting enough good proteins? Are we digesting our food? Are we getting hydrochloric acid and enzymes? Are we getting collagen and good building blocks? Because this hair is made out of keratin. Keratin's protein based. So collagen, connective tissue amino acids are going to have really good effects on the hair. And so collagen, good HCl, good protein digestion. I'll always look at the gut because if we have chronic gut health issues, that can definitely impact the absorption of all these nutrients and impact hair quality. So we're going to look at gut, we're going to look at HCl, we're going to look at the good selenium and zinc, and we're going to look at collagen. We can always add in some gentle saw palmetto, some gentle natural DHT support. We can even do topical saw palmetto, topical pumpkin seed extract, topical castor oil. Castor oil can help with some of the prostaglandins on the hair as well, and it's very gentle if it's in a good quality essential oil. And then if you have to, you can always go to the medication realm. And if you do, I always recommend topical first. Use a liposomal formula that's going to maintain the ability to stay in the scalp versus go systemic. And I always recommend starting at a lower micro dosing out of the gate. 0.1 milligrams to 0.25 is a good starting point out of the gate to mitigate side effects and then kind of gently taper up over time. But if you do things to help with hair, you got to stick with it at least 6 to 12 months. Takes a while. You'll start to notice some like little baby hairs coming back. So you want to monitor with pictures. You want just, good light, not so harsh, but not, good direct light. And, get some good pictures of the front and the back. So you're comparing it. If you're just trying to look at it every couple of months and expect yourself to see that, it may be tough, especially if you have a lot of baby hairs underneath. So you really want to keep an eye on it and document it. And that's going to help you to stay motivated. And it's also going to give you the ability to say, okay, do I have to step it up and use a pharmaceutical option, or can I stay more natural? But again, when you're looking at anything with hair or skin, diet has to be dialed in. Inflammation, nutrient density, digestion has to be dialed in. Good hydrochloric acid, good enzymes, extra protein, extra collagen. Then you can start going in with extra zinc and selenium. Then you can start going in with extra saw palmetto. Then we can start doing maybe some topical copper peptides, right? Then you can start maybe doing some topical essential oils like pumpkin seed oil or saw palmetto. And then you can also add in an adjunct like the microneedling or the micro pen. That's excellent. I'll recommend the one I use down below. Dr. Pen 8's a really excellent one. 16, I think pen's really good. 16 needles is like 16 out of 32, I think, right in that area. Excellent. Don't go cheap on the replacement needles. There's a lot of fake ones out there that aren't sharp and aren't direct and can cause potential scarring if you don't have a really good needle. So make sure you buy the official needles, whatever that pen that you recommend is. Make sure it's the highest quality, highest grade, and make sure you get the real exact needles so you don't have any scarring due to the needle being dull or just a fake. And then after that, you can always add in a laser cap, and then you can always go to a pharmaceutical if you need. I always recommend lower dose to higher versus going systemic with some of these things out of the gate can be a good thing to think about. I always want people to think holistically, understand what's happening. A lot of times there's more than one mechanisms. With most guys, there's going to be a androgenic alopecia mechanism. And I do like copper peptides. I do personally use some of those myself. I think it's excellent for there's a lot of studies on copper with skin for sure. Not as much on hair growth, but there are some studies on it with some, mouse and rat studies. Not ideal, but it's definitely safe, very low side effect. Copper does have some mild DHT modulating effects and also can really help stimulate hair growth and skin and tissue repair. And I think there's also some anti-inflammatory mechanism as well, because inflammation is going to drive a lot of things downward. So if you can reduce inflammation with a lot of the nutrients we talked about, that's going to help. Other side nutrients you can do that are very helpful with hair follicle inflammation or hair growth, or even DHT modulation is also curcumin is wonderful, and same with reishi mushroom. Reishi mushroom is shown in a couple of in vitro studies to be highly effective. Again, it's natural too, and it's a lot of studies on immune benefits, immune health, antiviral, so a lot of good things with reishi and a lot of good things with curcumin as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, we'll put some links down there. We'll put them up in a little bit of some recommended links of products that I personally use down below so you guys can access those. So check back in a little bit. My staff will get to that. And if you need more help, you want to dial in, you want to look holistically at what's going on with your health or even your hair, there'll be a link down below where you can reach out, schedule with myself. I try to provide a lot of value so you guys listening can take action and start getting some momentum yourself. And then if you need someone else that's an expert to kind of help hold your hand and kind of guide you to the next level, there'll be a link where you can reach out to myself and staff. We'll be happy to help you guys out. Let me hit a couple of questions for you guys. We got some bot trolls out, so ignore them in the chat. We'll try to block them as much as we can here. Okay, cool. A couple of questions here. Have you heard of a guy in Austin who grows ancient strains of wheat? Apparently people with gluten sensitivity can eat wheat from his bread and be totally fine. You're probably thinking of the einkorn wheat. That's kind of the more biblical wheat that is it's less hybridized, genetically modified. I think it's like the 5 or 8 chromosome wheat. The wheat today is like 30 or 50. It's like, it's incredibly hybridized and genetically modified. So you're probably thinking of the einkorn wheat. I've definitely heard of that. Yeah, thanks so much for the compliments. Really appreciate it. What should a person eat to prevent hair from going gray? So I would say seafood, oysters, rich selenium, rich zinc. It's excellent. Adding in extra NAC is very helpful because of that pseudocatalyse enzyme and the superoxide dismutase from the glutathione, from the NAC. NAC is a building block of glutathione, and that's going to prevent that hydrogen peroxide from accumulating as much around that hair follicle and help to neutralize it. And again, some of it's just aging and oxidative stress, but adding these things in there can be helpful. So selenium is going to be good. NAC is going to be excellent. Those are going to be really good. What's the best source of collagen? Meat stock. So, you can make it. You can get go to your butcher, get some high quality pasture fed bones, put them in an Instapot, extract that nutrients. You can get a good collagen peptide product. Again, mine's True Collagen. We extract them from high quality sources over in South America, Argentina, those kind of places. It's all tested. So we make sure there's no lead or junk or pesticides. It's all pasture fed grass. And then we also add proteolytic enzymes to it. So you're taking like the bones, you're taking the tissue, and you're adding enzymes to it to break down those amino acids. So they're in a peptide form, so they blend really well, and they also taste pretty neutral. So they'll take on whatever the flavor is to kind of just thicken it up. Some collagen out there has sulfuric acid that breaks it down, and that can kind of leave a little bit of an aftertaste in your coffee or tea or in your water or smoothie. Questions, guys? Is it true in order to benefit from vitamin D, it must be taken with magnesium? I mean, I don't necessarily know that that is the case. I mean, I know vitamin D can mobilize calcium, and they're maybe thinking a calcium magnesium kind of ratio. But I think if you're eating a good healthy diet, animal protein, vegetables, those kind of things, and you're taking a multi, you're going to be fine. You're going to be in good shape. You'll have enough magnesium there if you have some extra nutrients on board. Oh, excellent. Glad you want to reach out. I'll put a link down below for you so you can reach out. Thank you so much on that. Really appreciate it. Good source of NAC. So depending on kind of where you're at, any kind of high quality animal protein is going to be excellent. Um, Whey protein on the supplement side, and then supplemental NAC is going to be the best way to do it. At the higher level. But anything on the sulfur side, good quality pasture fed animal proteins are going to be your best sources of good quality NAC. Um, Regarding ancestral supplements, good sources of collagen. Are you talking like glandulars, those kind of things? Yeah, I mean, glandulars are excellent, but I mean, for collagen, you really want it in a peptide form because you're just, 500 milligram capsule isn't going to cut it because if you need to do 40 grams of collagen a day, I mean, 500 milligram it's like 80 capsules, right? Just not going to happen. So in a powder form is going to be the best way to do it to ensure that you can get enough. So usually 20 is going to be a good maintenance dose for most people. If you have arthritic issues or joint issues, probably 30 to 40, especially if you have joint or hair, skin stuff, you want to really step it up a little bit. Ancestral supplements are good just because it has glandulars in it. So glandulars are going to be a superfood. Like if you study the work of Weston A. Price, a lot of cultures looked at the organ glands of an animal. They were like the prize material. The muscle meat was almost thrown away to the animals, right? So we knew that the glands had a lot of nutrient density, whether it was liver and B12 and vitamin A or kidney and its ability to help with DAO and these kind of nutrients, or whether it was thyroid glandular or thymus for immune function. They've always been kind of known to have really good immune benefits and good fat soluble nutrients. Collagen seems to give you constipation or the opposite. Do you know why? I tried many different brands and it's always resulted in the same outcome. Not sure. I mean, it could be a detoxification effect where the glycine and some of the amino acids are causing you to dump some toxicity out. You may need a little detoxification support, maybe to clean out your gut a little bit. Also, give my collagen a try, True Collagen. That's going to be a really good one that we add with the proteolytic enzymes. Could be the sulfuric acid in there. Maybe you're reacting to. It's hard to say. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know. Thumbs up and put your comments down below. I'll be back here really soon. Actually, we're going to be back on a podcast here in just a few minutes. So hold tight. All right, guys.